Welcome to the manga only section. I know that the Grim Reaper arc is currently airing as season 2, part 2, so I might be able to include some of the footage from whatever episodes have come out so far, but I'm still keeping this under the manga arc section. Yeah, okay. The final exams are about to begin. Teru cons Aoi into a challenge to see who can get the most points in their exams. Akane shows no interest, so Teru threatens to confess to Akane that he likes her. Akane's imagination goes wild, and defeated by his thoughts, he agrees. Who wins this challenge? Both get perfect scores, but Teru is able to get 2 extra points that technically make him the winner. So he asks Akane a favor. If Ko comes by asking for Akane's help, Akane should do his best to assist Ko using all of his clockkeeper powers. After final exams is the school sleepover. While preparations are being made for the fun sleepover, Nene suddenly hears a mysterious flute playing in the distance. She brings it up to Aoi, who tells her about the rumor of the god of death, and that whomever hears it will soon succumb to death. It's the school's sixth mystery. Nene doesn't let Aoi finish her story and runs towards the bathroom, running into Akane. She's happy to see him since she'd been itching to ask the clockkeeper if he could use his powers to keep her lifespan the same till they graduate, if he could do something about her lifespan situation. She barely is able to begin a conversation with him when they both hear a flute, the music coming from down the dark hallway. A strange apparition approaches them. Akane kicks it in the face. As Akane turns away from it, walking away, the entity reaches out and grabs both the humans, asking them if they'd come there to die. More and more entities reach out for them, but the sixth wonder shows up. Akane and Nene can feel their energy leaving. Aoi comes running. She's been looking for them. The sixth wonder makes notice of her and begins approaching her when Akane uses his ability to halt time. He goes up against the sixth, but for some reason Aoi is able to move. His ability hasn't frozen her in place. The sixth wonder grabs Aoi after knocking out Akane and vanishes with her after apologizing. The wonder says the whole school has gone crazy and that he needs her in order to put things back the way they used to be. I just want to say the voice actor that they picked for the sixth wonder is perfect. Better than what I imagined. Like, he is actually really interesting to listen to. Meanwhile, the seven wonders are having, excluding the sixth wonder, a meeting. The first clockkeeper is bewildered at how Hanako didn't understand the purpose and the core function of the Yorishiro. He is against Hanako destroying the Yorishiro. It's causing all sorts of apparitions to swarm into their boundary. Apparitions are taking over the school without all of the seven wonders present. They're also worried about the mid-August to September timeline. That's when the boundaries are blurry between the land of the living and the dead. The sixth wonder has kidnapped Aoi to be a sacrifice. Nene and Akane begin searching for Aoi immediately. Well, not immediately. At first, Nene drags him to meet with Hanako, which he is super against. An apparition passing by them offers to lead the two directly to Aoi. Without hesitation, Nene runs after it and Akane follows. An old elevator takes them all the way down, but each floor that it makes a stop on, strange creatures appear. Hanako makes contact with the two through a telephone in the elevator. Hanako tries to make Akane make a wish, asking for Hanako's help for the price of obedience, but Akane flips the script, reminding Hanako that he has a hostage, Nene, and that he'd learned from Teru that there are other ways of threatening a person. His hope is to make Hanako jealous by slowly inching closer to Nene for a kiss, and it works like a charm. The seventh wonder barges in between the two, yanking Nene away from him, ready to help find Aoi without any resistance, as long as Akane keeps his dirty, filthy hands and lips away from Nene. They arrive at the sixth wonder's boundary. It's beautiful, and don't come for me for saying this, but it reminds me of some cities in Genshin Impact. It's gorgeous. The art in this comic is just beautiful. But you already know that. The sixth wonder is quite mysterious. He only comes up to the human realm once a year around the same time. Even Hanako doesn't know much about him. The sixth wonder, with the help of his little apparition assistants, is doing his best to keep the surge of apparitions appearing around the school under control. He keeps referring to Aoi as a kanagi. In Shinto, kanagi refers to usually a woman as someone who serves as a shaman or miko, so like a shrine maiden. So he's referring to her as a shrine maiden or a priestess, and how she needs to perform her duty instead of fighting him. He tries to use a potion to make her obedient, but she's resistant and starts causing chaos, although her memories are gone. So the potion technically kind of does work. The alerts go off and the sixth is made aware of the trio heading towards them while searching every room. Aoi asks if she can greet his visitors in his stead. She sneaks up on Nene. Hanako ends up getting a bit suspicious. How did Aoi manage to get away from the sixth? And he questions her. But she quickly shuts that down by asking him if he's that boy that Nene is in love with. Akane questions Aoi and if she's okay. She reassures him, letting him know that she's fine and that she loves him. Dead giveaway. Aoi leads them to the exit of this boundary, which is so strange considering that she was kidnapped and magically she's like the floor manager now. How does she even know where the exit is? She leads them to a structure. In the middle is a petal-like circle spot that she instructs them to stand on as she teleports them back home. The latch opens, dropping Hanako and Nene in a pit filled with bugs. Akane doesn't drop and walks up behind Aoi, so he did notice that Aoi wasn't herself. She tells him that the sixth has taken away her extra clutter and that she can finally ask for a wish that she's always wanted, to go far, far away. After that, she turns to attack Akane with a bug apparition. The two battle before Akane is able to disarm her. He won't let her wish come true because he loves her. Aoi kisses him before using the tail of the bug apparition to stab him in the heart. I can't believe you've done this, Aoi. Akane grabs onto Aoi and falls into the bug pit. This way, they are inseparable. If a human falls down the far shore, their bodies rot away, and only their soul remains. Quite a situation that our friends have gotten themselves into. Meanwhile, Ko is overthinking things while peeling potatoes. His friends tell him that he shouldn't handle sharp things when he isn't feeling well and take over for him. He's worried about how he'll solve everyone's problems while washing his hands in the bathroom when Mitsuba shows up and teases him. The two banter for a little bit till they hear a loud scream. Ko runs to check out the commotion and finds a fellow classmate being swallowed up by an apparition. He helps the classmate out and it turns out to be Natsuhiko. Ko grabs Mitsuba and starts leaving after getting kind of a weird vibe off Natsuhiko, but stops in his tracks when Natsuhiko baits him in with secrets that will help keep Nene's lifespan. Ko is all ears, but this information comes at a price. Natsuhiko needs help capturing the sixth wonder of the school. He shares with Ko that the sixth wonder is the guardian of the underworld. He brings death to all life, but he can also bring life to those on the brink of death. That he, the sixth wonder, might be the solution to Nene's problem. Down in the pits, Hanako and Nene wake up to an unknown location and find themselves involved with a girl known as Sumire, who looks a lot like Aoi. The girl has a Yorishiro seal on her neck. Nene will have to destroy her since it seems like Sumire is the sixth wonder's Yorishiro, the human girl he fell in love with. Sumire places a bell bracelet around Nene before bedtime. The following day is Sumire's wedding day, but the maids get Nene dressed up instead. In their eyes, she is Sumire. Sumire has Hanako beaten up and hidden elsewhere as the people from the village drag Nene off to be married in Sumire's stead. She's actually a sacrifice. The real Sumire must have been a sacrificial bride, her death in exchange for the peace and quiet at the village. Hanako comes to the rescue per usual, saving Nene from the crazy villagers. Sumire shows up and resets the world by jumping to her death. She shares how ever since she became a Yorishiro, she's had to relive that day and the same death over and over again. It's Groundhog Day, but the apparition version. Nene thinks that the sixth wonder wanted to sacrifice Aoi because she's an Akane just like Sumire, and that Back in the old days, Akane girls were sacrificed to stop the supernatural creatures from going crazy. And since the school is seeing an increase in those creatures, maybe the Sixth Wonder thought that this was the only option. They'll have to figure out a way to stop the Sixth Wonder. For now, Sumire gets to stay. Hanako calls down the elevator and they bust Sumire out of the sixth boundary, taking her with them to the upper levels. Meanwhile, Aoi and Akane are having a heart to heart. Aoi feels as if no one knows her for the real her. But Akane doesn't let her slide with all that bullshit and lets her have a piece of his mind. He doesn't shy away from absolutely wrecking her. Dude roasts her pretty good. He doesn't let her gloat or throw a pity party. Almost forgot that Akane can be kind of a little snarky little twerp at times. But they also have cute moments too. They're being transparent with each other. And they seem like they're about to kiss when Teru Minamoto ruins the moment. This arc wraps up with Hanako returning back with Nene and Tsumire with them, while Teru leads Akane and Aoi back to the land of the living. Aoi wasn't able to return, unfortunately. We find out through Hanako's monologue that Aoi's lifespan was swapped with Nene's, and that it's time for Hanako to say goodbye to Nene. The next few arcs I will continue to paraphrase so that you can go and read it and enjoy the series for yourself without too many spoilers and too many details being given. The Red House Arc. The far shore and the near shore are separated through an event known as severance. Just as the word implies, the world of the living and the dead are severed from one another. Thanks to the sacrifice of Aoi, the two worlds can be split apart. Hanako starts disappearing, letting Nene know about Aoi's death, her trading spots with Nene. Once the two worlds are split, Nene finds herself depressed. Hanako's disappearance, and how Aoi doesn't exist in people's memories. She's sulking in her room when her mom lets her know that she has friends over. It's Teru and Akane. Teru looks at her and asks her if she wants to go on a date with him. Of course, it's to cheer her and Akane both up. At the arcade/karaoke spot, Akane and Nene team up to find a way to get to the other side. Teru invites them over to his place and they discuss the details. He educates them on boundaries and severance a bit more. Since Akane can't ask the old clockkeeper for help, the old clockkeeper, Kako I believe, is the one that can turn back time. Mirai can turn the time to the future, and Akane can control the present. But since they can't go back in time and undo all of this, they need to figure out a way to go to the far shore. But luckily for them, Teru is a powerful exorcist who knows a way to enter the boundary. Ko and Nene visit Mitsuba's grave and bump into his mom. She invites them over and we get to learn a bit about his life while he was alive. They hope to find something in his room that is tying him to the human realm. Seeing his mother share information about Mitsuba really made me sad because sometimes it's easy to forget that in this fun supernatural anime that these apparitions have loved ones left behind. Mitsuba actually died on his mom's birthday. He was cooking Japanese curry for his mom and ran out of some ingredients. I think it was potatoes. So, hell-bent on getting potatoes, he went to the store, but he never came back home. Nene finds a photograph that leads them to the Red House. A murder took place at that house. Ever since then, it's a hot spot for paranormal activity and death. Teru warns Nene and Ko to stay away from the Red House, but these two are ghost magnets and wander inside anyway. They had heard a child scream, and that's what led them to follow the sound inside the house, hoping to find whatever child was lost in this haunted house. They follow the sound coming from behind a door. The child asks if they want to play with him. Slowly opening the door, there they find Kid Amane? Kid Tsukasa? Maybe? And he is just so adorable. Nene immediately hugs him, but Ko suspects that the kid is actually the other twin, Tsukasa. And it is. That's great and all, but that means that the haunted house, the cursed house, the Red House, where a murder took place 50 years ago, is Amane and Tsukasa Yugi's house. It's not a random house at all. It connects to the bigger mystery of everything. Nene gets whisked away by a creature for trying to leave the house with Kid Tsukasa, and so Ko finds himself stuck with this adorable kid, who he's really suspicious of. They both search for Nene. The Red House is really strange. All sense of time and space just doesn't make sense. Ko feels as if he sees a giant fish, but turns around and nothing's there. And then later he wishes for a legendary sword weapon, and it just materializes before him. Ko isn't falling for the tricks of this house and antagonizes the house. And so the house shows him Mitsuba. Playing dirty, huh? When Ko doesn't fall for that trick, the house conjures up his mother. Tsukasa makes a proposal to Ko, Nene's life for his mother's return, which Ko dismisses quickly and demands to know Tsukasa's wishes instead. We get a quick flashback of Kid Tsukasa picking up flowers for his brother and himself, grabbing a cat he saw in the garden to show Amane as well. We learn that Amane was a very sickly child, and Tsukasa had overheard the conversation his mother was having with a doctor about how close Amane was to death and how he won't last more than a month. But luckily, their parents get to celebrate the boy's fourth birthday. Amane made it past the month deadline, but it wasn't due to a miracle. In one of the rooms resides a supernatural entity underneath the floor, similar to the creature in the pit in the Six Wonders boundary, or centuries ago, where the Akane girls were thrown in the pit to an entity for sacrifice in exchange for a wish. It granted Yugi Amane an extended life in exchange for a sacrifice. Kid Tsukasa gave up his own life for his older twin brother, and that is why we're seeing this child in the Red House now. His spirit is trapped, given up as a sacrifice for his wish. The Red House functions similarly to Hanako-kun's rumors of granting people's wishes in exchange for something. Half a year later, Tsukasa had actually returned back. At first his mom was overjoyed, but slowly realized that he must have been possessed. He was strange and felt as if someone was in his body. Nobody believed the mother, not even the head priests and exorcists when she went to ask them for help. A few years later, everyone in that family living in the Red House, so all of Hanako-kun's family, were murdered. It was a murder-suicide. I wonder if Hanako killed Tsukasa in a fit of rage after he possibly found his parents dead. Or maybe Hanako realized that Tsukasa that he lived with was not his younger brother anymore and was like a strange entity, but let us continue. After Teru forcefully steals an heirloom connecting the Misaki Stairs boundary, he and Akane head to the school. Ko and Nene have to bust out of the Red House on their own. Nene finds her way back to Tsukasa and Ko. The child then shares a bit about Amane and his first few wishes being granted by the mysterious entity under his house. Small animals in exchange for small wishes. Kid Tsukasa is super happy and doesn't regret his choice. His brother will get to be strong, healthy, and even grow up. Sadly, we all know that that's not how things turn out. And Ko, I swear to God, Ko could not keep his big mouth shut and yells it out to a 4-year-old dead Tsukasa that his older brother Amane Yugi dies at the age of 13 after killing his younger brother Tsukasa. Ko, where is your sense of delicacy, my dude? Now, this piques Tsukasa's interest. Tsukasa's already dead, so how the hell can Hanako kill Tsukasa again? Ko has the same theory as me about Hanako possibly knowing that Tsukasa that he killed was not his brother. They try escaping with Tsukasa again, and the house attacks them until Tsukasa notices that the house isn't attacked near a fire. So he lights up a few matches and creates a small fire. They run around a bit more and notice the front entrance from where they came from and run out. They're free at last, but Kid Tsukasa isn't with them. The red house has been completely burnt, or mostly burnt, to the ground. Unfortunately, to me, it seems like the Tsukasa that Amane kills is in fact his brother, because Child Tsukasa is amused by what Ko told him about Amane killing him and then dying at 13. So he goes back. Well, shit. He only goes back because Ko spilled the beans. So Tsukasa that returned back after a half a year was the real one, just possessed by an evil entity. It might not even be possessing Tsukasa, maybe coexisting or corrupting him. Far Shore Bound Arc. Finally, after escaping the Red House, Nene and Ko make their way back to Ko's place to regroup with Teru and Akane. After getting their story straight, they make a plan to go to the far shore the next day. While making a phone call to her mother, Nene overhears Akane, Teru, and Ko talking about Hanako. They'll rescue Aoi, but kill Hanako. Teru can't let Hanako's actions of destroying the Yorishiro go on. He also risked a human's life, Aoi's life. As the eldest of the exorcist family, Teru has to make the smart call. I don't blame him. I did the same. It's easier to think that he is wrong if you're attached to Hanako, like Nene is. So now, Nene has to figure out how to save Hanako and Aoi at the same time, while evading Teru. Meanwhile, the supernaturals are getting ready to head to the afterlife through a train ride. Because, the severance has occurred. They can't go to the human realm, so they might as well just hop onto the afterlife. Like, actually go to quote unquote hell or heaven. Aoi joins Hanako on the train. The ride doesn't last long, as Ko and Nene hijack the train as Akane and Teru prepare to fight off with Hanako, who just won't let them take Aoi. He needs her to die in order for Nene to live. Teru holds off Hanako while Akane goes to find Aoi. He rescues her from a horde of apparitions trying to feast on her. And yay, the two are reunited and share a cute moment. Meanwhile, Teru threatens to kill Nene if Aoi dies, shocking Hanako. Teru was clearly bluffing, but Hanako doesn't know him well enough to be able to come to that conclusion, right? He looks like a helpless, vulnerable child in this panel. Ko gets in the way of Teru's exorcism, and Nene drags Hanako away from the scene. Hanako lets go of her hand and questions why she came back. Frustrated, Nene slaps him and yells back her response. She came back to see the boy she likes. The two argue but talk it out, a conversation that needed to happen a while ago. Hanako shares what's going on in his little noggin, right? He just wanted Nene to live a full life. He wanted to make the promise that he made to her and the wish she asked for in Shijima Mei's art room boundary. He wanted that to come true. She did say that she wanted to live till she was 100, though she might have been exaggerating. And he wants to see her live. He didn't want Ko to be the one to save Nene. He's overjoyed and finds himself being more clingy than usual. Clingy till he kisses her. Meanwhile, the brothers are fighting, but Akane barges at the right moment and puts an end to the squabble. Wasn't a squabble. Teru was starting to say some really mean, fucked up things to Ko, but They head out to find Hanako and Nene when an entity emerges behind Ko. Teru acts quickly and trades spot with Ko, taking full damage from the Sixth Wonder's attack. The Sixth flings Teru's lifeless body to the side. Their best fighter is down. Ko and Akane both try to go against the Sixth, but they don't stand a chance. Aoi gets kidnapped once again. We learned that the Minamoto clan had taken in on this Oni, who later turns out to be, the Sixth Wonder. They figured since he was harmless, they might as well form a contract with him to become their Shikigami. He was contracted by the descendants of the first exorcist that took him in. They gave him all sorts of jobs. Later in life, he was tasked with taking care of Sumire. She was only 6 years old when she was already being prepared to become the sacrificial bride, the Kanagi, the shrine maiden. He seemed pretty annoyed by Sumire since she was always playing house most of the time. She was just a kid, thinking that this Oni would be her husband. They were just adorable. There are very cute moments in this flashback between Sumire and Oni, and nice try mangaka, but I'm not forgetting how this dude just beat up and possibly murdered half the cast. In the present, Ko attempts to fight off the Sixth Wonder and save Akane, but he's overpowered. This Oni apparition is stronger than any foe that his brother or he has faced. The Sixth asks Ko why he is even trying to fight back so hard. He can clearly see how weak Ko is compared to Teru, and so he pats him and instructs him to go home. But Ko isn't backing down and is able to drive his brother's sword through the Oni. Natsuhiko shows up and thanks Ko for helping him in capturing the Sixth Wonder, and he transports him somewhere else. While Ko is dealing with Natsuhiko, Nene and Hanako are having a heart-to-heart again. This time, regarding Nene's short lifespan and how Nene doesn't mind dying and how she's even brought snacks. Hanako doesn't want to hear Nene even utter a word of dying when Tsukasa shows up. Look at those void eyes. He toys with Hanako, asking him how they are going to make Nene's wish come true. Hanako's against it, so then how will they make Nene's lifespan longer if they can't use Aoi anymore? If I destroy all the school mysteries, Yorishiro, then God will grant me a wish, Tsukasa says. Tsukasa's having Sakura gather the Yorishiro belonging to the sixth, Sumire, and placing her where she needs to go, which is in the boundary. Tsukasa wants to see if Nene can bring herself to destroy a human Yorishiro, but also, we learned that Sakura's wish is to be able to go outside. I'm assuming outside the school bounds, since Tsukasa can only grant wishes for the dead. Sakura can't leave the school bounds, right? How can Sakura be dead but still be seen and physically touched by other students? I don't get it. Why do some apparitions have solid forms and others don't? But anyway, the Yorishiro being destroyed is supposed to grant her wish, like all of them, all seven being destroyed, then she gets her wish, right? And right now, all we know, or what Hanako thinks, is by destroying the Yorishiro, he can extend Nene's life, is what he's thinking. I'm suspicious. How can it grant two wishes? How can it make Sakura's wish of being a human and leaving the school boundary come to fruition and grant Nene a long life? Wouldn't something like that have like a limit to how many wishes you can make? Under the sakura tree, Sumire walks up to find a familiar face, the sixth wonder, the Oni, also known as Hakubo, while he was living. The two get to spend some time with each other before Sumire instructs Hakubo to convince Nene to finally come to terms with destroying Sumire. There's no other way out, except there is. Hakubo eats Sumire. They both agree to that to gain closure. Sakura escorts Nene back to the human realm as the sixth boundary begins to disappear and offers a chance to either learn about her death or the lives of Amane, Tsukasa, Yugi. But Nene asks about Aoi instead. Aoi is just fine. Sakura lets Nene in on a secret before their time runs out. Nene's lifespan won't run out yet, not till she's done destroying all the Yorishiro. Sakura wanted to be able to communicate that with Nene without Tsukasa being able to overhear them, and that's why she went to meet Nene at the sixth boundary. So the Omen Arc. Here's the highlights from this one. The class is preparing for a school festival after summer vacation. They plan on putting on a theatrical show and retelling of The Wizard of Oz, a classic. Hanako sulking, feeling left out of all the fun since he is dead, so Nene has him help out with the school festival preparations instead. The two goof off and Nene invites him to watch the school play when Hanako notices a giant clock. It's been frozen for ages, Nene says, and Hanako suddenly recalls a memory from when he was alive. How he had until the school festival's end to make that clock move again. He just can't remember why he needed to do that. And I think Tsukasa had something to do with that. Later, Nene goes on outside adventures with Mitsuba. I still don't understand how Mitsuba can walk outside of the school grounds now, but the severance freed him from being bound to the school grounds. When the two walk back to school, they notice something off about the school, and the festival has started despite it being scheduled for the following week. Tsukasa walks up to the two. He knows Nene wants to know more about Amane and playfully invites her to come play with them, informing her about the giant clock that has the ability to make people time travel, the clock that Amane was desperately trying to fix before the school festival ended. Tsukasa vanishes and Mitsuba and Nene return to the current timeline. Greeted by Ko and Hanako after hearing Mitsuba shit-talk them, Hanako questions Nene why she was out with Mitsuba, which gives him the perfect opportunity to instigate shit by saying that he, was on a date with her and they had ice cream. Ko and Hanako get pretty jealous. As for this festival clock mystery, I'll summarize the 24 chapters before we continue our overall thoughts and what we know so far to establish a timeline or a rough timeline. While Teru and Akane are testing for mics for the school festival and preparing a list of things to help the other club members and students with, Teru notices a paper crane hiding behind Akane and grabs it. Tsukasa's probably. The paper crane bursts up in flames before making its escape, burning Teru's hand in the process. So Akane takes him to the nurse's office while sharing his interaction with Natsuhiko, who had offered Akane to join the broadcasting club in their goal of destroying all the Yorishiro, which Akane promptly declined by punching Natsuhiko to the wall. Unfortunately, Natsuhiko was able to track down where the boundaries of the clock keepers are, thanks to that paper crane. So I guess Tsukasa wasn't the one tracking Akane, it was Natsuhiko. The plan is to trick Nene and Hanako into destroying the first wonder. Sakura blows on a piece of paper, turning it into flower petals that hit people's eyes. The school festival begins. Everyone gets to enjoy themselves. Even the younger sister of the Minamotos is there with a family priest. The two were just enjoying the school festival when Tiara notices, I think that's her name, Tiara, notices an eerie looking student walking like a zombie when she converts into a half tree-like creature. All the students nearby can see it and wonder if it's a part of a performance before it starts attacking everyone in the vicinity. But yeah, it's throughout the school. Students that were hit by the flower petal are turning into strange tree and flower-like creatures, attacking classmates and families alike. Teru and Akane figure this out quickly and run across the campus trying to remove the petals off the students to convert them back. The broadcasting club is on the move. With all that chaos, Natsuhiko is free to go to mess with the boundaries of the clock keepers. He slices his hand, blood dripping as he talks about a new rumor, his rumor. There's a person who won't die, no matter how many times you kill him, and his blood that flows through his veins is highly toxic to supernaturals. As soon as it touches them, they fall apart, which means it works on you too. So Natsuhiko wasn't just some dumb moron senpai all along. He's an apparition as well, a powerful one as well. His blood is toxic. I wonder what we're gonna figure out more about Natsuhiko. So far, this is like the biggest reveal about Natsuhiko. Like, he is a dangerous apparition and he also wants the Yorishiro to break. And now I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't think the Yorishiro breaking is a good idea. Maybe bad shit's gonna happen if people like him want it to break. I swear the entire broadcasting club is cursed. At the auditorium, blood drips from the clock, freaking everyone out. Nene goes with Hanako to check out what is causing it. Hanako gets a bad feeling about that place and grabs Nene to run out, but the floor collapses and the two fall, stuck in time. Tsukasa appears, striking a deal. Destroy the Yorishiro of the clock keepers for time to be restored. Currently, the entire school is frozen in place. He says all this and then kisses Nene, prying Hanako and Nene's hands apart, stealing her from his twin, leaving Hanako in a state of shock as Tsukasa leaves with Nene. Oh my god, he is so chaotic. What a fucking menace. Hanako is like crying. He's like super fucking sad. Akane rushes with Teru to the giant clock, catching up to the true motives behind the broadcasting club's actions, and find a crying Hanako stuck in place. They unfreeze time and don't hesitate to rub salt on Hanako's wounds while he's already down. Teru secures Hanako with spiritual beads and they're off to solve this mystery and problem. Meanwhile, Nene is just trying to survive Tsukasa and his games. Dude is chasing her around the clock keeper's boundary. That's the only place where people can move around if they aren't already stuck in time. He wants Nene to destroy the Yorishiro or he'll rip her arm off. She's able to successfully hide from the crazy ass twin before she runs into a couple of owls that end up sucking a bit of her life essence, reverting her back to her middle school days. By the time Tsukasa comes to help her, she's super little, like a kindergartner. Tsukasa babysits her, and they bond over the Wizard of Oz song. They sing and connect until Mirai shows up, placing Tsukasa under trial. Orders are sent out to Akane once he shows up to the boundary with Teru to place any outsiders under trial for meddling with time. Hanako shows up to rescue Tsukasa and Nene and finds himself being hit with a mallet as well. He needs to stand trial as well. Each one pleads their case. But Tsukasa just confesses. After being found guilty, he refuses to cooperate and attacks the clock keepers. He tries to attack with his hand, hoping to penetrate through Akane's chest, but Mirai gets in the way, protecting the only human clock keeper. Tsukasa's still trying to find the Yorishiro of the clock keepers to help make Sakura's wish come true, so he isn't destroying the Yorishiro for his own goal. Or that's how it seems like, based off his dialogue in the manga, but honestly, this is Tsukasa. We can't really trust him and half the shit he says, right? Natsuhiko unfreezes Mitsuba and asks him if he has a Yorishiro yet. Mitsuba doesn't. And so Natsuhiko slices his hand and makes Mitsuba drink his blood. I think he just murdered Mitsuba. If they destroy the clock keeper's Yorishiro, then only Tsukasa would be left to destroy. Hanako doesn't want that since he won't be able to ever see his younger brother ever again, Nene, and hang out in the school, right? Amane realizes that Tsukasa must have been a fake all along, and when he does, the old clock keeper shows up again, completely fine, threatening to eliminate the fake Tsukasa. There must have been a time paradox or something that the clock keepers are trying to fix. Akane uses his ability to stop time as the clock keepers bring back Mirai. Akane jumps up to Teru and gives him a set of instructions while he is still frozen in place, before they head out to the clock keepers' hideout. The clock keepers make their way down the boundary. They hold an important discussion. They want to track down the root cause of all of this. The old man clock keeper is thinking about the bigger picture, and he feels as if all of the school disasters and all of the issues that they've been running into is because of the entity that is inside of Tsukasa. Mirai and the old man are going to the past to change stuff, and then they'll go dormant in the clock until the new present is established, which leads us to the next and the current arc, Alteration Arc. Stuff changes. Nene's memories of Ko are gone. He doesn't remember her either. Looks like Mitsuba is alive and a classmate of Ko's. Teru and Akane remember the original timeline very well. Nene remembers bits of it, and it impacts her a lot. Hanako's presence is missing because he never actually died. Yugi Amane grew to become a professor or a teacher and worked with Tsuchimogori sensei for a while. The altered timeline is quite a sad one for the fans to read through because the trio aren't there doing their own shenanigans. It's actually a much darker timeline, and I kind of enjoy it, but maybe I'm just weird. But yeah, the new school spirit is not Hanako-san of the Twilight, but a spirit that you can conjure up to play by forming a circle with two other people. You can conjure up Tsukasa-san. Personally, this arc is also such a treat because I love time travel butterfly effect mess, and we just don't get enough of those in movies and TV shows and video games. It's always a treat whenever somebody does that. But anyway, here's a few highlights of this arc. Nene finally comes across Amane. She had snuck into a teacher's science prep room without permission. The teacher scares her as if she's in trouble, but he's just messing with her. It doesn't even take a second for Nene to realize that this teacher is Yugi Amane. Hanako doesn't exist in this timeline because Amane Yugi never died. He got to live out his dream. And this, what Nene is seeing right now, must have been a memory of that room because Yugi Amane is long gone from that school. Mitsuba can remember the original timeline a bit as well. He keeps having reoccurring dreams, and he asks Ko if Ko's having them too. Teru gathers Akane and Nene later to deliberate whether they should turn back the time. Use the key that the clock keepers gave Akane to just revert everything back to the original timeline. Timeline currently isn't all bad. It's not bad for Teru either. Like, Teru's mom is alive in this timeline, and his dad is at home a lot too, giving Ko and Teru tons of free time to hang out with friends. Teru's life is so much better in this timeline, but that doesn't mean that the altered timeline won't be messed with, or that it's not worse. He still wants to go back to the original timeline. He is much more weary of the instability of this timeline and the type of supernaturals that exist here. A much more serious apparition exists. He can just feel it. Tsukasa in this timeline is the kid version with a hole in his face. So this is where Tsukasa's existence for me starts getting a little bit complicated. Which is the real one? Was he always possessed? Did this Tsukasa die when he was 4 years old as well? Why is there a hole in his face? Did the entity entirely take over? Maybe the entity did entirely take over. Everyone heads to the Red House to see how haunted it truly is, right? Because in the original timeline, the Red House was pretty haunted and a lot of the mysteries kind of tied in with it. Ko and Mitsuba actually went to the Red House on their own earlier than the rest of the gang and end up getting split up. But Ko is able to find and connect with Nene later when Nene, Teru, Aoi, and Akane go to the Red House. He leads her to adult Amane. She's excited to see him and hugs him. It seems like a sweet moment before she yells out to Ko to come and tie him up. Hanako looks so dumb. Long story short, Amane Yuki in this Red House is a victim of the Red House curse and is now luring in humans and killing them, trapping them. He actually kills Ko and later attempts to do the same to Nene. Nene doesn't realize that the Ko that dragged her to see Amane is already dead. Later, when Amane attacks Nene, Ko helps her out and runs off with her underground to the well, basically, and attempts to kill her. Luckily, Teru finds them and has to kill his own brother, slashing through Ko. Ko appears as his normal self, happy and excited to see Nene before realizing that he's fading away. But he says happily that he'll see her back in the original timeline. And poof, he disappears. Amane shows up right after Ko's death, and Teru goes apeshit on him, slashing Amane badly, getting him to confess to killing his younger brother, which Amane openly confesses to. Yugi Amane on this timeline is not the whimsical Hanako we know. He's a much more sinister entity, an actual malevolent entity. Well, it isn't Amane Yugi, but rather the strange pit entity that is possessing him. Before he can kill everyone, Akane hands Nene his clock and the Yorishiros of the clock keepers. He tasks her with going to the clock keepers and reverting everything back to the original timeline. A lot of things happen to Nene, mostly bad, but just know that the manga might be wrapping up because Akane sends her back to 1959, where she lands on top of Amane. We finally might start learning more about what happened to the twins. Now, I didn't really give you a full, in depth explanation, but there's a certain point where Nene, after Akane hands her the Yorishiro and the key, she goes to the clock keepers to ask for help, but they refuse to help her. So she grabs the small quicksand item to help her go back in time and time travel as much as she can. And unfortunately, every time she turns back the time a little bit, just a little bit, because this quicksand is like a really small quicksand, and you're not able to turn back time that much, just by a couple hours or a day. Nene is unable to save her friends. They always end up dead at the Red House. And so one final time, she makes it so that when they end up at the Red House, she can convince Akane and Teru to leave safely. And she offers herself up with Aoi as sacrifices to the Red House. And that is how Akane, using the clockkeeper tools that he has, he's able to go back in time to the day, to the beginning of that day, before Nene was able to live out that day where she had Teru and Akane escape successfully. And he teams up with her. Then he sends her back to 1959 or so for her to interact with Kid Amane. And the arc is still ongoing. It's monthly chapters, so we'll see how it goes. Questions brewing in my mind and theories. Welcome, you made it to the last section where I ramble about all the questions I have. I have more questions, you've noticed probably, than actual theories, but you see, I keep my theories really short and my questions super long. So let's begin. Okay, first of all, feel free to just share an overall theory that you have now that we have all of the information. I know that towards the end of the Alteration Arc and Omen Arc, and the Alteration Arc, I started hyper summarizing. I did that on purpose I did that on purpose so that people can still go and read that and formulate and, kind of come to their own conclusion about what is going on. So share with me your theories. Relationships so far, right? Hanako-kun and Nene have shared their first kiss at this point, and they mutually like each other, right? Though Nene is not officially Hanako-kun's girlfriend, she would love to be, right? There's actually a really funny scene in the Alteration Arc. I believe is it the Alteration Arc? No, it's in the Omen Arc. I think it's the Omen Arc. Yeah, it's in the Omen Arc. Where the owl exposes Nene and like yells super loudly while they're holding a trial, yelled out like how Yashiro wanted to confess to Hanako-kun after the school festival and embarrasses her in front of everybody. It was priceless. That was really funny. Those two mutually like each other. There hasn't been a proper confession from Hanako-kun. Well, although I do feel like the kiss was his confession, he's kind of like an awkward ball, you know? Everyone else in the series is already kind of like treating them like they're a couple, so yeah, it's just will he, won't he, for Nana only. She's a hopeless romantic. Then you have Akane and Aoi who mutually like each other. Akane's desire to save and rescue, rescue, I just combined oh my god, I just combined two different words together. I'm so sorry. To rescue and save Aoi, right? When the Sixth Wonder kidnaps Aoi, he is like distraught and he's like, I have to get her no matter what. And I just feel bad whenever Aoi for the funsies turns down Akane, but I think as long as they both like each other and they both, know it, which Akane doesn't, sucks balls. Anyway, I mean, they almost kissed, and then Teru got in the way. Of course, Teru did. I think that's just so freaking funny. That's so on brand with Teru. I know a lot of people, like I said, hate on Teru, but I don't get it. I think it makes sense. The things that he does. Actually, on the topic of Teru, it was pretty tough to read when he had to kill his own younger brother to save Nene. If he didn't, Nene and the others would have like gotten hurt and into trouble. And this way, Ko's spirit, like, he got to be himself. He seemed relieved, right? And happy. But still, that was rough. But yeah, Teru's character during the manga only section is tough. He's firm. He's taking on the task of playing the villain. And I get it. He is being the responsible one. He is from a family of exorcists, right? He is the lead or head. He's going to be the head. His father is right now, but he is going to be the head eventually because he's the eldest. And he does all of the exorcism off campus. He gets rid of all the malicious, evil apparitions that live off campus. That's why none of the students get attacked when they leave school, because he is taking care of all of the exorcism business off campus so that students on campus don't have to worry about the same bullshit once they leave campus. And I believe that the school wonders exist to maintain that balance, and that's why he's not that worried. Then the school rumors from the broadcasting station started, and that's why all the school wonders who were there as guardians start kind of acting crazy. It's through Teru that we learn that in the Sacrifice of the Grim Reaper arc, that the school wonders are unique, that they aren't just ghosts but guardians tasked with protecting the school. It's kind of questionable why Hanako wants to destroy the Yorishiro. Yeah, their Yorishiro has to be something precious to them to ensure that they won't walk away from the job, right? So that makes a lot of sense. It's emotional torture. But yeah, I feel like Teru is such an important character. He's like the only one that knows how to use most of the super difficult and heavy exorcist weapons. Cole is just nowhere near as strong or capable as his older brother is, and so Teru is the best bet that the humans have to have on it on their side. So I don't really understand why sometimes people get really mad when he wants to exercise uh Hanako-kun or do an exorcism on Tsukasa or something like that, because yeah, he's being the responsible one. He understands that things are gonna go to shit if he doesn't try and do something about it. So I personally like Teru. You guys can hate him all you want, but I appreciate him and I appreciate like the things that he's doing. So, Nene, to destroy the Yorishiro or not, who knew shit would be so complicated? The entity inside Tsukasa is, in my opinion, the true mastermind. The thing that is the cause, the root cause of everything, of all of these mysteries, is that entity. It's where this entity and that pit where the young Akane women were thrown. Like, where this entity was worshipped like a god. It ain't one, but it was worshipped like one, right? People of that era truly believed that if they worshipped this weird creature living in the pit and sacrificed young women, that the apparitions would not come and attack. That's how this entity grew, this strange thing. Maybe it just started as nothing. Maybe it just started as the wandering souls of just girls that were killed. And then eventually their grudge and resentment, in the afterlife, or in this purgatory, because I'm like treating that area as a purgatory, right? It just started growing and manifesting into something more sinister, and then more girls just kept being thrown, and that just added to the collection. That's what I think. It's an amalgamation of that anger and resentment, and then it eventually just lost sight of what it was truly angry about, and now it just wants to devour the world. Let's get our stories together. So far, this is what we know about Hanako-kun and Tsukasa. Amane Yugi and Tsukasa Yuki. There's an old well underneath the boy's family house, right? One day while playing around with his ball, Tsukasa's ball falls under the crack. Is it his ball? Something else falls. I think it's the ball. It starts with the ball. Falls underneath the crack of his house. He wishes he had his ball back, which he magically does, but the bugs that he collected are gone. An entity slowly starts mimicking conversation, or mimicking talking like a human, because he can't talk at the beginning. It doesn't know how to. So Tsukasa kind of teaches it how to talk, and now it knows how to talk like a human. So now it can lure people in. In this case, it's luring only Tsukasa because it's the only one that knows about it, right? It befriends the child, taking animal sacrifices for the small wishes that this little boy has. He's not even 4 yet, he's still 3. Before the 4th birthday, a young Tsukasa wishes for his older twin brother, Amane Yugi, to live longer because he has a sickness and he just wants his older brother to live longer, and he's willing to give up his own life. Kid Tsukasa jumps down the pit on the 4th birthday, and then he goes missing. And Amane Yugi is perfectly fine by his 4th birthday, right? So Kid Tsukasa goes missing on their 4th birthday. 6 months later, he shows up out of nowhere. His mother is freaking out because she can tell that something's off about this kid. He wasn't himself. It looked like Tsukasa, talked like him, but there was something missing in the child. Ever since Tsukasa mysteriously returned back, Amani could see a hole in his chest, and he always knew that whatever returned wasn't entirely his brother. Pause. So you remember one of my theories and Ko's theories in the manga is that the Tsukasa that is out and about, that we see, the teenage 13-year-old looking Tsukasa, maybe that one's a fake, that maybe whatever returned back was fake. I want to make an amendment to that theory of mine. I think that the real Tsukasa did come back, that it did return, but when he returned back to the human world after having his wish granted by this entity, he lost his soul. I feel like the reason why his mother and Amane could tell that there was something wrong about Tsukasa was because Tsukasa had lost his soul. He was void, and without his soul, he just wasn't the same. I feel like that's what makes us us. A human has a soul. That's something that you see in every movie, TV show, and books. the theme of a soul. So maybe that's why he feels very void of something. So, what made me want to change that theory that I had? It's because of the entity that exists in the Alteration Arc. It's such a more malicious entity. It's so evil. It feels much more sinister, just wreaking havoc, luring so many more people to the Red House. It has done more destruction, in my opinion, than in the original timeline. In the original timeline, I feel as if the entity actually wasn't as strong, and Tsukasa was in control for most of it. He just let the entity stay in his body when he returned. But I feel like the reason why that is because the entity was in his well, right underneath the house. And the well was in that area, that pit area where people worshipped, that pit, girls were dropped in there. Well, I feel as if that the entity that ended up granting Tsukasa's wish and then entering his body, occupying it, returning back 6 months later after the fourth birthday, that entity was weaker because there was a seal that was placed on that pit, right? But in the Alteration Arc, we learned that the Minamoto family or the Exorcist never put a seal on that entity at all. So it is at its full power. It never got nerfed. I feel like the comic is truly trying to lead us on or foreshadow the importance of the entity being in the original timeline being sealed and in the Alteration Arc not being sealed. I feel like it really is a big deal, and that's the reason why there's this ripple effect. You know, because it never got properly sealed like in the original timeline, it affects everything. It affects the Minamoto family, the Akane family, and the Red House. The Red House is possibly a more potent hotspot for this entity than it was ever before in the original timeline. And it's because it didn't get sealed by the Minamoto families. This entity seems to need to kill a human in order to be able to possess it as well. That's another thing that we see, that every person that it's possessed, it killed. So it killed Mitsuba. It killed Ko before being able to possess them. It doesn't care about the living or the dead. It just wants to devour. Let's talk about the relationship of the living and the dead. What is it to be alive and dead in this series? So, in real life, we do not for a fact know that there is an afterlife or it's just a blank. We don't know that. But in this series, we know that there is an afterlife. Hanako is in it, right? All these school wonders and apparitions are there in this like purgatory like state. But there's also an afterlife that we see one of Mei Shijima's alive self go to heaven, right? So we do know that there is an afterlife. But if we're talking about that purgatory like state, that apparition state that like Hanako they can just haunt around, if that exists, right? I can see some supernaturals and definitely certain entities and creatures and apparitions having a hard time understanding what's the point of making a big deal of being alive. Maybe supernaturals or maybe this entity doesn't really see that being dead is that big of a deal because you continue living. So death is not that big of a deal. I bring that up because sometimes I feel like Tsukasa doesn't understand characters like Sakura and Mitsuba. Like he has a hard time understanding why they want to even be human again. It doesn't matter, like whether you're a human or an apparition, life goes on. Like, yeah, your life as a living, breathing human is over, but in the afterlife, you're still there. So I think that's why Tsukasa has a really hard time sometimes understanding where these two characters are coming from sometimes. I also feel like sometimes that's why he kind of like teases Nene. Like, oh, if you want to be with Hanako-kun so much, why don't you just die? He says playful things like that, but I feel like the authors wrote him like that intentionally. They make him say these dialogues intentionally because they know that they can like hint at maybe his mentality of what he thinks of death and being alive, right? So just kind of like a rambling I wanted to share. I also think that he doesn't see a point in wanting to be a human again because at the end of the day, even though they're dead, he is still able to hang out and chill out and be with his older brother Yugi Amane, even though he goes by Hanako-kun. He's still there with his brother. So for him, everything's great, everything's fine, life is going on. I saw a theory online where people think that Sakura might be Nene in a future or alternate timeline who absorbed the disease that Amane had to help him live. But I'm not sure how that theory begins or ends, but I've just seen that like small sentence be reiterated here and there. I just wanted to share that. Another one was that suggests that Nene's legs are swollen due to a heart disease and she might have absorbed Amane's disease and that's why she's running out of time. Those both are really interesting, especially the second one, because that would be really interesting to see how that kind of swap would happen. That would also make sense, like her going back in time, maybe. But I also like what I was thinking, where oh, did I even share what I was thinking of, like why she was running out of time? No, I did not. We will get to that. Um, we're gonna continue on with the lore of the twins so far. So Tsukasa feels as if Amane never shows up whenever he calls to Amane for help. Now, by that, does he mean when he was a child and he was taken into the pit? Or does he mean when he returned back and he tried being friendly with Hanako or Amane, and Amane just knew that the entity wasn't entirely Tsukasa, so maybe he was just being really standoffish with his brother, and so he felt as if his brother hated him. So this panel of when Hanako shows up to rescue him and Nene, it's interesting because we learn a lot from it. Tsukasa never anticipated Hanako making it. He did for a split second think of calling out for help from Amane. His brother usually never shows up, but there he was this time, right? Where does this negative idea of Amane not loving Tsukasa come from? I know that Hanako says, I hate you or whatever, and they kind of banter after he rescues them, but that is not representative of how the two brothers were when they were alive. Because if you remember, and if I can find the panel, manga panels, I'll put it up right now as a reminder. When they were both alive, before the days of their birthday, Tsukasa had hugged Amane saying he loves him. And Amane had responded with, I love you too. So, no, this isn't like some sort of brotherly rivalry love where they say I hate you to each other and that's normal. It's like a love-hate banter. No, Amani was never afraid to say I love you or show affection to his younger brother. So, what the hell happened? What made Tsukasa so insecure about his brother loving him? And is it because Hanako killed Tsukasa? We still don't know why Hanako killed Tsukasa, so that's still a huge mystery. I can't even begin to think of why. Some people think it's because Hanako picked up on the fact that the entity wasn't his brother, and so he tries to kill him. But I feel like because when he returns back, Hanako lives till he's 13. So that's a big gap. Something must happen specifically when he's 13 to trigger that. In the red house, Tsukasa's mother notices that the boy is not the same as he was before he disappears and takes him to the priests, and they refuse to help him, saying that she was crazy and that nothing's wrong with the boy. They were wrong. A few years later, all the members of the red house, the Yugi family, are dead, killed in a murder-suicide. Safe to say that Amane is the one who committed this murder-suicide. Why, we don't know. Still a mystery. What's interesting about the alternate timeline is how Amane gets to grow up. He's a professor, or a teacher, high school teacher at least, and he gets to teach his class. But he still ends up dead at the red house because he gets lured in by the entity. What bothered me about this was like, what the heck did the clock keepers go back in time to change? And specifically, what did they change when Amane and Tsukasa were both 4 years old? Because that's a specific timeline that Nene says that the clock keepers changed because Tsukasa mentioned that. Was it Tsukasa? No, Hanako mentioned that when he like had a little blackout moment before he attacked Nene, right? But what about the fucking well? that century-old well that the exorcist in this timeline, this altered timeline, for some reason they didn't seal it off. What the heck? What's all that about? And so, okay, here's my rambling on that. I think, right, and I wrote down here, was the sealing of the pit done in 1959 while the twins were alive? I don't think so. Maybe the Minamoto family only paid attention to the case then. Does it make sense why the entity wasn't sealed off? The entity that resides in the alternate timeline isn't the somewhat strong but weaker being. Its power scale is massively more destructive. What made the Minamotos of the past of this alternate reality seek an alliance with the Akane family and mix their bloodlines together. Because remember, Teru and Aoi are engaged, and it's because the Minamotos feel as if they get benefits of mixing their bloodline with the Akane family. They become stronger or whatnot. Yeah, whatever. But why? And why didn't the Minamoto family seal off the pit? Because the clock keepers, they didn't go to that century old time. So why is that different in this alternate timeline? I'll share more on that a bit, but I want to revisit before I forget the sixth wonder because I wrote some thoughts on him. In chapter 93, I believe, he reflects on his fight with Ko, how desperate he was to save his friends and make everyone happy despite kind of being really weak and getting his ass beat, right? It made Hakubo wonder about the past. He wonders if he felt emotions that intensely like Ko did, would he have changed how things turned out for Sumire? Would he have saved her in a different way? And could he have changed how things turned out for Sumire? So he kind of regrets the past. He kind of regrets not helping her out the way he did, and then he eats Sumire. Yeah, I think that is strange, but they're kind of like tragic lovers, right? Beauty and the Beast, because he's an Oni and she's a human, worlds apart. Um, the tragic lovers. So for those of you who love that, eat your heart out. Literally, it's just I'm sorry. I tried to make a really bad pun and then I gave up like immediately. So Nene's lifespan. Okay. I think that the current arc is super interesting because it opens up a lot of doors with time travel and the impacts of time travel. And you even hear the older clock keeper Kako, I think his name. I think I just called him old man, cold clock keeper throughout the video, but his name is Kako. He warns Nene about how the person who's wielding the quicksand time travel device that she has, a small one, it can really impact future timelines and it can impact the person wielding it. Nene keeps turning back time, trying to fix things, but things go to shit. And one time she's even holding a knife, right, as she aids Hanako in the death of her friends. Luckily for her, Akane goes back in time to when she turns back time again. He came from the future of that day that she was about to live out. In that day that she was about to live out, she would make it so that Teru and Akane were able to make it out of the red house alive, and Aoi and Nene stayed behind, being captured by the entity, staying as sacrifices, right? And so that is the only way that Akane was able to loop back and find his way to Nene. And the reason she did that is because she felt as if Akane, because he is one of the clock keepers, the tools he gave her, she felt as if he would be able to better utilize them than she was, because she had been turning back time over and over and over, and she was not making progress at all. And so Akane is here. He teams up with Nene. He's trying to avoid her going back in time, avoid her unnecessary death, and avoid everything that's gonna happen. Because when Mitsuba and Ko separately go to the Red House, and then these four, when they go to the Red House, bad things happen because they don't know how to deal with the entity. They don't know how to deal with Hanako. So time travel and the butterfly effect, the conversation around that comes up a lot. The, conversation of the toll it takes on a supernatural to use the time travel tool or on a human, right? A non-clock keeper entity to use the tool, it takes a lot of toll on them, especially if a clock keeper is against it, which the clock keepers were against Nene going back in time. Since Nene has been using it quite a bit, I think that this is the reason why she ends up losing time. Her lifespan drops. I think that's why. That's the impact of time traveling. It shortens your lifespan. And that's why I think that Yashiro Nene was destined to lose her lifespan because of this time traveling issue. Like, it's always been a mystery. She was born to die young. The show never says it's due to natural causes. So maybe this could be the reason, a side effect of time traveling too much. We can't really rule out what I'm saying. Maybe a fraction of what I'm saying might be what ends up happening. We don't know yet. The arc is not over, right? The thing I can't help but wonder is if Nene will have a role to play in Amane's death in the original timeline, right? Why? Why do I think that? The timeline might have been too messed up. And in order to the altered timeline is too messed up, is what I'm saying. In order to get back the original timeline, she might have to just like help the events of that timeline occur for that to happen. Current mysteries. How to get back the original timeline. What exactly did the clock keepers change on Tsukasa and Amane's fourth birthday? How will time traveling affect Nene? In the past, people have died tragically. So, did her lifespan get shortened because of the time traveling? Each time time travel happens, in order for the original timeline events to occur, Nene has to influence or engage with Kid Amane somehow. What if in the original timeline, the reason why the pit was sealed was because the gang, all of them, Ko, Mitsuba, Teru, Akane, Aoi, Nene, what if they went back in time and sealed it? What if Teru was the one who sealed it, and that's why in the original timeline, the entity in the pit in the well, when Tsukasa interacts with it, it doesn't even know how to talk because it was weakened and it just did not keep up with the times and the people and whatnot. But in the altered timeline, the gang have not at all um, gone back in time. They wouldn't even need to, because why would they? They haven't interacted with time traveling at all, and they wouldn't have any reason to go back in time. Nene Yashiro in the altered timeline doesn't even seem to know Hanako-kun or be involved in the supernatural world or apparition world. So maybe that's why the pit just never got sealed in this alternate timeline, and that's why this entity is just running wild and has taken the Red House hostage once again and has killed thousands of people because no one's keeping it under check. Also, why is the Minamoto household not sending somebody to exercise the house? I just don't understand. Even Teru mentions how his family has no record of the Red House, so either somebody didn't do their job, or two, it's so strong, it's gotten so worse that they're hiding the details of what's happening in the Red House. I think it's the second option. I think that the Red House is just, there's just too much going on there, and that it's too intense now. I personally think that the authors intentionally did that, so we'll leave it at that for now. Leave your theories in regards to the pit and why it didn't get sealed off, please, because I'm curious what other people are thinking. This video is getting ridiculously long, but I plan on making another video, like I said, with your theories and sharing your theories, which I think will be fun. As for me, I'm going to share one last few theories and thoughts with you. What about Hanako-kun? How much does Hanako-kun know? He knew about Nene's short lifespan, okay. But how much does Hanako-kun know about everything? Why is he so scared of Tsukasa? Or is he scared of the entity that's inside Tsukasa? What does he know about the entity? If he knows anything. That's all I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.